Dave Chappelle just dropped a bomb that has the entire internet losing its mind. The famous comedian stood on stage in Saudi Arabia and called out Charlie Kirk's widow, Erika Kirk, in a way nobody saw coming. And here's the crazy part. Chappelle called Charlie a hero, but now he's questioning everything about how he died. What he said about Erika has people asking one massive question. Was Charlie Kirk's assassination way more than what we've been told? Look, I know this sounds wild, but stick with me here. Dave Chappelle performed at a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia and made some seriously controversial statements about Charlie Kirk's death. Now, while he's praising Charlie as a hero, he's also openly questioning the official story we've all been fed. In this video, you're going to discover exactly why Chappelle is so suspicious about Erika Kirk's behavior after her husband's death. You'll see the massive holes in the FBI investigation that he pointed out. And trust me, the conspiracy theories that are gaining traction right now are absolutely insane. From Charlie's own family members mysteriously missing from his funeral, to Erika appearing unusually happy and upbeat just weeks after the shooting, something just doesn't add up here, guys. Alright, before we dive into this video, let me give you a background on what's really going on here. So as we all know, Charlie Kirk was a conservative activist and the founder of Turning Point USA. On September 10th, 2025, the FBI named a guy called Tyler Robinson as the alleged shooter. Charlie died from his injuries, leaving behind his wife Erika and their children. That's the basic story we've all heard, right? But here's why this matters so much. Almost immediately after Charlie's death, Erika Kirk took over as the CEO of Turning Point USA. And I mean fast, guys. Multiple public figures, including Candace Owens, who was actually on the board, have been questioning the official investigation. Then Dave Chappelle's comedy set in Saudi Arabia just poured gasoline on this whole fire by openly mocking the situation.
So here's where things get spicy. Dave Chappelle is on stage in Saudi Arabia at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and he tells the audience something wild. He says,
right now in America, they say that if you talk about Charlie Kirk, you'll get canceled.
Then he pauses for dramatic effect and adds,
I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to find out. It's easier to talk here than it is in America.
The crowd went absolutely crazy at this point. Like, you could hear people cheering and losing their minds. But then Chappelle takes it even further. He claims it's easier to talk here than it is in America. Think about that for a second. He's saying he can speak more freely in Saudi Arabia than in the United States. That's a pretty bold statement, guys. Now, in another video that went viral, Chappelle actually spoke about heroes in nation. A hero while discussing how elite people eliminate others who don't play along. So he's got respect for Charlie, but he's clearly suspicious about what really happened. Now, not everyone was happy about Chappelle's performance. Tim Pool, a pretty popular political YouTuber, came out swinging hard against Dave Chappelle. Pool straight up called Chappelle a hypocrite for criticizing America while accepting fat checks from Saudi Arabia. And honestly, he's got a point here that's worth considering.
The issue is that Dave Chappelle took money from Saudi Arabia while criticizing America, and that is...
Tim pointed out something really important. Chappelle had to negotiate and agree with Saudi authorities about what topics he could and couldn't discuss during his set. So when he says it's easier to talk in Saudi Arabia than America, that's not exactly the full truth, is it?
I'm just so sick of this, because homie had to negotiate with Saudi Arabia on what he'd be allowed to talk about.
Get this, Tim revealed that other comedians at this festival were getting paid up to $375,000. That's a life-changing amount of money, guys.
Dylan says he was offered $375,000.
But here's where Pool gets really fired up. He argues that Chappelle crossed a serious line because his jokes are fanning the flames over assassination culture. That's a heavy accusation.
And he's intentionally fanning the flames over assassination culture. And we just watched Charlie Kirk die.
Tim emphasized that regular people have actually lost their jobs for mocking Charlie Kirk's death, but Chappelle is out here making money off of it on stage in front of thousands. The double standard is pretty obvious when you think about it.
And he's making these comments because people have lost their jobs for mocking the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or in some more extreme cases, and a lot of them, calling for more assassinations.
Okay, now we need to talk about Erika Kirk's behavior because this is where things get really strange, guys. There's this viral clip from the Medal of Freedom ceremony where Erika is smiling, and I mean really smiling, while she's telling President Trump that Charlie prayed for his enemies. And you know what Trump did? He laughed. You could tell he seemed pretty skeptical about what she was saying, like he didn't quite believe it.
Surprisingly enough, he did pray for his enemies, which is very hard, but he did. He did. He did. No one else, I mean, I saw him do it. No, he never did it in front of anyone else, but I can attest to that.
But it gets weirder. Just weeks after her husband was shot and killed, Erika appeared on her podcast. And she wasn't crying or looking devastated. She was smiling. She was upbeat. She looked like someone who just got promoted, not someone who just lost their husband.
Come on, because this is not going to be a forever thing of me being on hosting the show. Was because I gave assurance to people that Turning Point USA is continuing, and it is. I mean, we are so blessed to have more work than we even could ever dream of. I mean, it's.
She seems really upbeat, really happy, only days after her husband was assassinated. That looks like smiles. That looks like laughing and happiness and joy. So many people noticed this. Erika was laughing right after her husband.
She literally said on the podcast,
More work than we even could ever dream of. I mean, it's.
I'm sorry, but that's a really odd thing to say when your husband was just murdered, don't you think? The internet did not let this slide. People started calling her.
People are upset because I called Erika Kirk a fraud, a failed actress, and the happiest widow I've ever seen. I stand on that, and I'll keep saying.
That's harsh, but when you watch the clips, you kind of understand where they're coming from. Users all over social media were questioning why she wasn't more devastated. Why wasn't she taking time away from the public eye to be with her children who just lost their father? These are fair questions that people are asking.
I wouldn't even be able to get out of bed.
Now here's something that should make your eyebrows raise. Charlie Kirk's parents and his siblings were completely absent from his memorial service at State Farm Stadium. Like they weren't there at all. And remember Candace Owens? She was on the board of Turning Point USA. She was close to Charlie. She didn't attend the funeral either. That's really strange when you think about it. Now, according to sources and conspiracies, people allegedly claim that Charlie's family discovered something shocking. That Erika was a honeypot planted in Charlie's life. A honeypot means someone who was put there on purpose, to manipulate or control him. That's a serious allegation, guys. There are also allegations floating around that Erika actually blocked Charlie's family from attending the funeral. She reportedly didn't want them there. If that's true, that's absolutely wild. The only time Charlie's parents appeared publicly was at the Medal of Freedom ceremony with President Trump. That was it, one appearance.
Since Charlie's death, there have been 0 public statements from his biological family. Complete silence. Don't you find that odd? When someone dies, especially in such a public way, you usually hear from the family, but nothing. Radio silence. Candace Owens has not been quiet about this situation, and what she's saying is pretty explosive. She completely skipped Charlie's funeral, and her reason was shocking. She claimed it was organized by the feds. She didn't trust it. She thought it was some kind of setup. Candace openly accused the FBI of spreading misinformation about who the shooter was and what actually happened that day. She made a really good point about the cameras. Utah Valley University has over 1,000 cameras on campus. 1,000. But the only footage the FBI released was super grainy and unclear. Why wouldn't they release better footage if it exists? Here's where it gets really crazy. Candace revealed that she personally asked to view footage from Turning Point's tech guy who was there that day. Candace also claims that Tyler Robinson was never even on the UVU campus and that he maintains his innocence to this day. She alleged that Tyler's father never turned him in, despite what the FBI said happened. The official story keeps falling apart the more you look at it. And get this, instead of going to Charlie's funeral, Candace said she stayed home and listened to Kanye West music. She made it clear she wasn't going to participate in what she saw as a Fed-organized event. Tucker Carlson has also jumped into this conversation, and he's demanding answers. Tucker said that if the FBI investigation isn't completely transparent and thorough, then it's simply not adequate. He's not pulling punches here.
Here's all I'll say. If the FBI and the authorities in Utah end this investigation by declaring Tyler Robinson a lone gunman with no accomplices whatsoever, without having done, a truly exhaustive investigation.
Now, FBI Chief Kash Patel announced that they're expanding the investigation. They're actually looking into multiple conspiracy theories now, which is pretty unusual for the FBI to admit. They're investigating things like the shot angle, possible accomplices, hand signals that were seen on video, Discord chats, and visitor logs from the days before the shooting.
The FBI actually admitted they're treating these conspiracy theories as, quote, possible leads. When has the FBI ever done that? Usually they shut down conspiracy theories, but now they're saying some of them might be true. People are frustrated because Utah Valley University has all those cameras, but we're only getting grainy, unclear footage. Why? What are they hiding? Tucker Carlson said that people should go bonkers if the FBI doesn't do an adequate investigation. And honestly, I think a lot of people already are going bonkers about this.
We should go bonkers. They should go bonkers and absolutely demand it, because this is too much.
Now, I know these next theories sound crazy, but hear me out because some of them actually make you think. There are allegations that Turning Point USA booked State Farm Stadium back in May of 2025. That's months before Charlie Kirk died. Why would they book a massive stadium for a memorial before he was even killed? That's suspicious, if it's true. People found out that Erika apparently worked for the Corcoran Group, a real estate company that had connections to Jeffrey Epstein's properties. Now that doesn't prove anything, but it's definitely an interesting connection. There's a theory going around that Charlie was, quote, sacrificed after he refused to accept $150 million from Israel. That's a huge amount of money to turn down, and some people think that's why he was killed. This one is really out there, but some people are even questioning whether Charlie and Erika's children actually exist. They point out that there are no pregnancy photos of Erika anywhere online. No baby bump pictures. Nothing. That's unusual for someone who was married to such a public figure. Jaguar Wright raised some technical questions that are hard to ignore. She asked, how did a bulletproof vest catch the exit wound?
He had a bulletproof vest that might have caught the exit, really? That's interesting. That's definitely an interesting point of view. But what kind of bulletproof vests are you talking about? Because usually bulletproof vests, they cover your front, they cover your back. There's points of vulnerability on the sides usually. I haven't seen too many. I mean, was he wearing like hardcore Kevlar? Like fully body casted? That's wild. Nobody mentioned that yet. Military grade. He was wearing military grade. I don't know. It's funny. Seems like they might have mentioned that. For all of the things that they're not mentioning, it seems like they would have mentioned that. Even still, no splatter and no pooling.
All over social media, people are debating whether this was a planned execution or if it was really just a lone gunman. And honestly, the more you look into it, the more questions you have. So here's what I want to know from you guys. Do you think Dave Chappelle is right to question the official story? Was Erika Kirk's behavior actually suspicious? Or is she just grieving in her own way and we're all being too judgmental? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe any of these conspiracy theories? Or do you trust that the FBI investigation is going to give us the real truth?